Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah. Today I woke up and chose pink. So here are 4 more of the movies that I have seen recently. This is mostly a bit of a sad bunch, and I don't know if I even want to watch the last Paranormal Activity movie at this point. I don't know if I should do it just because I've already seen like the first 6 or whatever many there are. But yeah, you'll see why I'm questioning whether I want to do that or not. So the first movie we're going to talk about is Paranormal Activity 4. This is actually directed by the same people that did the third one, Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman. I did it again! Which, I don't know how that's possible considering I think I gave that one like 3 or 3.5 stars or something like that. Like, it was actually decent. And this one is trash. So this came out in 2012, and I recently discovered I can do half stars on Letterboxd, so I only gave this half of a star. So it has been 5 years since the disappearance of Katie and Hunter. A suburban family starts to experience strange events in their home when they accept to take care of a mysterious neighbor's child after the neighbor supposedly ends up in the hospital. The entirety of this movie can be summed up in one word, and that is boring. So this was one of the 2 that I had actually seen previously, but wow, I had forgotten everything except for the fucking connects and how that's used in the movie. Which, speaking of that, I really wonder how much they got paid by Microsoft for how much connect usage there was in this movie. And honestly, that was pretty much the best effect, really. So the only positives of this movie were the connect thing was kind of cool, but it was overused. There was a cat, and that's really it. By the end of this, I had more questions than answers, and honestly, just thinking about the scenes in my head, it was just not good. And I don't understand this series, and from how it's going, I don't think I'm ever really gonna get the answers I'm looking for here. And at this point, it just seems drawn out, like, come on. But I'm just really disappointed that these are the same people that created the third movie, and the scares in the third one were actually decent and good, and I enjoyed them. And this one, it was just the opposite. Like, I was genuinely shocked when I was writing my notes and saw it was directed by the same people. Next, we have a movie that actually makes up for how bad Paranormal Activity 4 was, and that is the newly released Caveats. This is directed by Damien McCarthy, and it seems like this is his first movie, or at least his first feature-length movie. It is a horror thriller. It says the release date was 2020, but I think it just came out on Shudder this month, so I'm not sure with that. And I gave it a 4.5 stars, and I think this is on like my favorites list now because I just thoroughly enjoyed it. A man suffering with memory loss and seemingly no family is tricked by his only source of memories, a lifelong friend. This friend asks him to take care of his psychologically troubled sister while he is away, but instead of an easy job, it quickly turns into madness when he's forced to stay with this woman in an abandoned house on an isolated island. So the movies that I've seen on Shudder aren't the greatest, so I had absolutely no expectations going into this. Like, I pretty much just went on Shudder, saw the poster with the rabbit, and was like, I need to know more. Like, I just wanted to know the story of the rabbit. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this on and we'll see what happens. And it was amazing. So you do have to pay attention to understand the plot, because I can definitely see how it can be confusing if you're just kind of watching it in the background kind of thing. But the atmosphere, the tension, the scares, there's literally a scare in here that my husband keeps terrorizing me with by mentioning it repeatedly. And I'm surprised I haven't had nightmares about it, but it caught me completely off guard. It just burned into my memory, and it is playing through it right now, and I just, it makes me shudder. Ha, pun there. So this ended up being a fantastic surprise. I was peeking through my fingers as normal when I'm actually watching something worth watching. One thing though is I noticed the reviews say this is a slow burn, but I really didn't feel that. It felt normal pace, like average, and it never felt boring to me either. The rabbit was amazing. And between that and like the scares, it just completely stole the show. That rabbit is so creepy. The scares were so creepy, and I cannot believe an eye peeking out of a hat is as scary as it is in this movie. The one downside, and why I didn't give it 5 stars, is the main character, Isaac, makes some really, really stupid decisions, like where you're yelling at the screen, like, why would you do this? So there's that. And it's pretty pervasive throughout the entirety of the movie, so it's just like, come on, dude. But the ending is actually fulfilling. It's great. I highly recommend this movie if you are in a horror slump, because it completely surprised me and it's a new favorite for me. Unfortunately, next we have another Paranormal Activity movie, which is Paranormal Activity: The Marked Ones, and is the second to last in the series currently. This is directed by Christopher Landon, so different director, and this was also his first movie from what I could find. This came out in 2014, and I also gave it half a star because of course it's also trash. 17-year-old Jesse and his best friend suspect his downstairs neighbor is a witch. One evening, the older woman is murdered by a classmate, which prompts them to explore the house to try and figure out why he was there. Jesse finds more than he bargained for as unusual things start happening to him, continuing the cycle of evil. So this just shouldn't exist. They should have stopped before this. The acting is really bad. I think this is probably the worst one in terms of acting and plot and just trying to be a horror movie. Like, it almost feels like they're doing what they did with Freddy Krueger, where it turns more into a horror comedy, or in this case, just straight up comedy, because the things that are happening are just completely ridiculous. It is just straight up dumb and funny. So once again, there's an inanimate, if I can speak, object that just steals the show. In this case, it's a little Simon Says game, which is fantastic. The dog was cute. The last one had a cat, this one has a dog. The one good thing, finally, someone grabbed a gun. Someone finally brought a weapon. And it was hilarious. But yeah, I've really lost interest in the series at this point. This just felt like something someone made in like film school or for high school or something. Like, it didn't feel like an actual like studio movie. But knowing that there's the ghost dimension left to watch, I'm just like, no. So yeah, I'm not sure if I should watch it or not. And finally, I just saw this on Sunday? Yesterday? Was it? No. What's today? Today's Tuesday. I saw it 2 days ago. There we go. I don't know what days are. And that is Cruella, directed by Craig Gillespie, but Glenn Close is a producer on this, which I thought was pretty awesome. This is actually labeled as a comedy and a crime movie, so I thought that was kind of interesting. This came out this year, just came out a few days ago here in France, and I gave this 3.5 stars. So this takes place in 1970s London amidst the punk rock revolution. A young grifter named Estella is determined to make a name for herself with her designs. She befriends a pair of young thieves who appreciate her appetite for mischief, and together they are able to build a life for themselves on the London streets. One day, Estella's flair for fashion catches the eye of the Baroness von Hellman, a fashion legend who is devastatingly chic and terrifyingly haute. But their relationship sets in motion a course of events and revelations that will cause Estella to embrace her wicked side and become the raucous, fashionable, and revenge-bent Cruella. So this actually ended up being a complete reimagining of the character. The original animated 101 Dalmatians makes absolutely no sense anymore, and you don't really want it to make sense anymore if you've seen the after credits scene and made that connection. The music, acting, and the fashion are 100% the best thing about this movie. You can pretty much completely ignore the plot, as it is pretty dumb and completely ridiculous. I also felt like the plot was pretty secondary. Like, I've seen people say that this didn't even have to be Cruella, this could be like any character. And I really agree with that, as people were kind of viewing this as a Cruella origin story, but since it changes so much to where 101 Dalmatians doesn't really fit anymore, how is it an origin story, right? So I would just consider this a reimagining, really. But Emma Stone is gorgeous as Cruella. She really fits this role and just embodies the character. And I really like how they kind of made Cruella almost be a separate personality from Estella. I thought that was a more of an interesting take on the character. One thing that kind of sucked though is if you've seen the trailer, you've seen all the fashion, you've seen all the outfits, and that's pretty much about as long as you see them in the movie as well. It's just pretty much a montage, and I really would have liked more moments with them and seen more of the fashion and details up close, because some of that looks so gorgeous. One thing that kind of surprised me is honestly the runtime of this movie. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes long, and the friends I saw it with didn't agree with me here, but I felt that runtime. Granted, I've also been watching horror movies that are only an hour and 25 minutes long, so this was a bit different. The pacing was actually really good. Like it felt like it was the same throughout the movie, but it just felt long, and I was definitely ready for it to be over by the time we got there. It is very Disney in how over the top the plot is, and like the reveals and everything were just pretty ridiculous and just what? So my husband actually didn't come with to see this because I definitely don't think he would have liked it. But if you enjoy this character, if you enjoy Disney movies, then it's probably worth it to see it. But honestly, I more went just to see the fashion, and the music and acting was just so. Also, I want that dog named Wink. He was amazing. So that's it. Those are the last 4 movies I have seen, and I'm done with Paranormal Activity, so ready to be done with that. But let me know in the comments below if I should watch that last movie, The Ghost Dimension. No idea what I'll watch next, but as always, thank you for hanging out with me. It is greatly appreciated, and until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.